Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here. This little gypsy will be the last of my ragged shirt reviews. And in it I'm going to walk you through actually two decks. It's these, as you can see, by U.S. Game Systems, Native American playing cards with biography booklet. Now, so I've got two sets. There's set 1 and set 2. On Amazon, it was showing that this was out of print, or the price was really high. But I found it at Gettysburg Souvenirs and Gifts, which is the same place that I got, like I've got the little playing cards of trees and horses and dogs. That's the same place I got them, and they were almost out of, I can't remember if it was set 1 or set 2, but when I called, I asked, when I asked for both of them, the guy said, well, I've got this, whichever one or two, but not the other one. He said, let me call our other store, and the other store happened to have them. Whether U.S. Game Systems is still publishing this, I don't know. It says 2008 on the box, but in the guidebook, so it says 2008 on the box, but in the guidebook I thought it said 1990 something. Where did it go? Oh, it's on one of the cards here. And so you've got also there the artist. So it's art from the 19th century. And the little, it's a little book, but it's quite substantial. And there's who wrote the book, and I think she's recently done either herbal or flower decks. And for each person, you get part of their image and then biographical information. Looks like the year that they were, maybe, and that some of them are probably estimates. The year that they were born, perhaps, and deceased, I'm assuming. That's what it looks like. And information about them. So I just think this is fascinating for educational purposes. But I'm also going to see if it could possibly be used for divination. I want to see what it says at the beginning. Most of the portraits in the Native American playing card deck were painted in the early 1800s and first appeared in the 3-volume book, The Indian Tribes of North America by Colonel McKenney and James Hall. Their book provides unique perspectives of Indian life and invaluable details of specific historic events, as McKenney and Hall were personally acquainted with most of the people they describe. They also witnessed and received first-hand accounts of many of the events they narrate. For these reasons, the first biographical essays presented in this booklet the brief biographical essays presented in this booklet owe much to the narrative accounts compiled by McKenney and Hall, especially in the cases where there simply is no other source of information on the individual portrayed. Note, in the 1800s, it was not unusual for Native Americans to use several different names as well as multiple spelling variations. So yes, it's the 19th century. And it does say additional illustrations by Virginius Pashkus. So I don't know what that is. And then must be in set 2 somewhere. There was something that listed yet more. It says many of the portraits were painted by Charles Bird as early as 1821. Additional portraits were painted by John Otto Lewis, S.M. Charles, G. Cook, A. Ford Shaw, and G.M. Stanley. The official beginning of this collection was made during the administration of Secretary John Calhoun and continued when James Barber became Secretary of War in 1825. During this time, many tribes of the North American Indians sent delegates of their headmen or chiefs to Washington, D.C. for business transactions with the War Department. Colonel Thomas L. McKinney of the Bureau of Indian Affairs suggested these portraits be done to preserve the likeness of the most distinguished among this most extraordinary race of people. He felt this race was about to become extinct and that these portraits would be of interest in years to come. So, slightly perverse motivation, kind of, but that is the case true also with the Edward Curtis photographs. It was that sense. So here you have the portrait. So I'm going to run through them. Obviously, I don't have too much to say. You have the person's name and the tribe. And sometimes you just have a description. And these are the backs. The backs are different with the two sets. And so, to me, you know, these people are pictured, painted with so much more variety of clothing. And manners and head shapes and all kinds. They're very different. Whereas with the Edward Curtis playing cards, a lot of them are portraits, and they're clearly people wanting to put themselves in their best. They're wearing their regalia, their garb, rather like this, and not like this. So, and I don't know what that means. I don't know, and I don't even know if these paintings are completely genuine. Did somebody pose like this? Or is this invented? You know, how much is genuine and how much is invented? I just don't know. Certainly somebody with a better history of Native American peoples and their attire could read this better than I certainly can at this point in terms of what does having the red across your nose and eyes mean? What does having the certain feathers? I mean, I think I could probably look on the internet to find the feather down and the 2 feathers up, which is a not uncommon thing to see. But others, like this sort of headdress, and I just don't know how much of this is maybe fabricated. I know that one of these shows a person with a peacock feather as one of the feathers in his headdress. And so I'm thinking, do I have to look this up on the internet and say, did they, now I know that they didn't have peacocks natively here. So did they, by that time, have brought peacocks to the U.S.? Possibly, and anybody then could say, "Oh, hey, look at that! That's a cool feather. How much is that? Can I have that?" And put it and have it be part of their garb. But I do love the variety. I'm not sure what I'll ever make of it. If I make anything of it, I don't know. This might be sort of, like bibliography. Or like when I do my counsel, where I've got one person that I pull for a month. So that was one. Where did I start? Almost immediately. And this is one. I'm glad that I got it. I do like it. I do like the images, despite my skepticism about complete authenticity. So this one has this for a back. It has a close-up, essentially a close-up of the buffalo. And otherwise, it seems to have been created pretty much at the same time. And again, same little white book, except it's green here, and the other one is red. So there is color reversal. Anything that is green here was red in the other one. But essentially, the biography, same person, same format. So we'll just look at cards. I'm not showing you all the names and the tribes. If you want me to do a video that makes sure that you can see all of the names and the tribes, let me know. But I'm just trying to give you a sense of the images. One of the things I like about this deck is that this is just the way it's coming to me. It could be like Walmart, in that they've got people with different head shapes and different, noses and different, so in fact it's more interesting than Walmart because you got more variety of clothing, I think. Not to mention headdresses. I like this guy because he's got the bear paw symbols, and there's another guy that has a bear claw necklace. It's huge. And then you've got this, and where I wonder if he had lost an eye. That's why he has his hair that way. So maybe it's Leonard Nimoy. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle this one and pull a card and see what it says in the wee guidebook. Yep, shuffles very nicely. Okay, let me just... I guess I'll take that one. I got... Whoops! Oh, goodness, it's wanting to fall all over the floor. It's wanting to escape. I got Mahaska, an Iowa Indian. Oh, and he's got the big bear claws as well. Oh, and he's got the that yellow, which I think is it could be something else that I thought might be a peacock feather also. I don't know. Let's see if I've got enough light left in here to read that. So how are they doing this? Are they H-I-J? Oh, you're kidding me. Is it not in any way? Well, I'm glad I did this. Here's a flaw. Their guidebook gives you no guidance Oh, there it is. It's down at the bottom, 8 of spades. I was going to say it's not alphabetical. They're not giving you the suit or the number. That had me a little freaked out. I'd just end up writing it all on there. So there's clubs. There's the 6. And... oh, it's 6 and 6 and 6. They've got it according to... okay, so here's... yep. That's interesting. So on the card, it's got these dashes, Mahaska. But in the guidebook, it takes them out. It just has the word all as one piece. From 1784 to 1834, Mahashka was the son of Wounding Arrow, the principal chief of the Nez Perce Indians. After Wounding Arrow was slain while visiting the Sioux, Mahashka, also known as White Cloud, resolved to avenge his father's death. Though he was the rightful chief of the Iowas, White Cloud delegated command of the war party to a more experienced warrior, but it was White Cloud who brought back the scalp of the Sioux chief in whose lodge his father had been murdered. White Cloud led numerous war expeditions against his enemies. After a skirmish with some French traders, the chief was imprisoned for several months before he escaped. After his return, he married 4 widows, as was the Iowa custom. In 1824, Mahaska and his favorite wife, Chouaim, traveled to Washington, D.C. as delegates of their tribe. In 1825, so that's the next year, Mahaska attended the treaty at Prairie du Chien, where he advocated peace. In 1833, almost 10 years after that, and only a year before his death, in 1833, Mahaska was asked to head a war party of Iowas seeking revenge against the Osage, but Mahaska refused to participate in any more bloodshed. Murders occurred on both sides, and the offenders were imprisoned. One of the Osage prisoners escaped and murdered Mahaska, who was 50 years old when he died. So this card, to me, even though he attempted to change his ways, would be a card that would be a lot about revenge. And so I don't know, because these are playing size cards, playing card sized cards. I don't know if I could write some keywords, but that's sort of my inclination. It would be to write 2 or 3 keywords around in the white space of these cards. And most of them have enough white space to do that. So I could do that. I'm not sure if every every biography will have kind of a clear theme as his did. But there you go. The Native American playing cards by by U.S. Game Systems, with the biography booklet sets 1 and 2 for anybody who is interested in those for educational purposes and or divination. Bye-bye.